Break time as usual. Sort of a language joke with a small twist. Suppose this corona and so on is not there, all the markets and restaurants and coffee shops and so on are open. You have gone to a fancy coffee shop, a high scale one, where you think very nice and interesting people come, and you are sitting at a table and taking coffee. A very smart girl enters, and now you see there is no way but you look at her and so on, and then she starts walking and she is coming towards your table. So now you are very excited and a little nervous also, and she comes and stops right beside your table. Now, my goodness, your face is red, you are happy inside and worried outside. And that very beautiful young lady, woman, girl, she asks you, "Are you single?" And now, my goodness, you are so happy. Oh, she is very much interested in me. She is asking me, "Are you single?" He said, "Yes, yes, of course." So she said, "Thank you," and takes a chair and takes it to the other table. You see, language issue. Are you alone? Are you single? Joke over. We were trying to explain the experimental method of Landes and Begley. You start with the standard compact specimen, right? Edge notch, load P, displacement delta, and you have made a lot of samples, and different samples are with different initial crack sizes. And as the experiment goes, for one sample, say sample A1, you plot the load against delta. So you get this curve. Then you plot the same for the sample of A2 crack size, A3 crack size, A4 crack size. So this is done. Now you have this graph. Of course, A1 is the smallest in size. If there is a very small crack size, then you need more load to crack it to a certain extent, isn't it? So therefore, the largest load means highest curve is for the smallest crack size, and you take all of them to the same final crack size delta 4, right? Final. Now this graph is there. Here you determine, now you take any value of delta 1, delta 2, delta 3. Delta 4 is of course the end one. You want to end at the same place. Maybe the actual curves are a little different, they end in different places, but you decide some value of delta 4 and draw a vertical line. So you take any, here we are saying 4. To be very accurate, you may have 8 points here, it's up to you. So different delta points, and make a vertical line, and so on, right? Now you say that from this graph, from this data, I will get the U against A data, U against A. So you take any delta 1, you take delta 1. For delta 1, you have this point, right? So this point is there, and you can find the area under the curve, isn't it? The area under any curve is the energy U. The area under any curve is the energy U, right? So when you are doing only delta 1, remember this line, this straight line, forget about the rest of the diagram, only this straight line. So you find area under A4, so this is the U value. Then you take the A3 curve and you find, right, this area under the A3 curve, then area under the A2 curve, area under the A1 curve, only corresponding to delta 1. So each time you get this area, you get the values of U. So delta 1 curve is here, and you have the different values of U value for each, right? U value. So similarly you do for delta 2, for delta 3, for delta 4. The area under the curve is the energy, of course. It is the force P, and displacement delta. So force into displacement is the energy or the work done. So area under this curve will be the energy U. So you find the energies for all these different, of course the calculation is there, and of course you should be able to do the exact calculation of these curves, area under the curve. So some software like MathCAD or Mathematica or whatever you use, or simple, even if you are drawing these drawings on AutoCAD or this or that or any good geometry package, then you can find those areas under the curves when it is actually a curve. So you understand the process, right? That you initially conducted, you had the P delta graph, now you have the UA graph, right? From here you are saying that the J against delta for each of the delta, now the slope is du dA. At any point you find the slope at this point, so remember this is A1, A2, A3, A4, right? This is now A. So the vertical line is for A. So all these points are corresponding to the crack size A1. All these points are corresponding to the crack size A2, A3, A4 and so on, right? So at any point you find the slope of the curve so that slope is du dA. And once you have the du dA, then you put it in the integral equation and you find the J, right? So at each point you find it. So right, for delta 4, right? So delta 1, delta 2, delta 3, delta 4. If you draw vertical lines, then delta 1, delta 2, delta 3, delta 4 are there. And for each one of them, for crack size A1, A2, A3, A4, you have the J integral. Right? So this is your initial experimental facility. Now this is a very drawn out procedure. It takes a lot of time and a lot of calculation. But it is a very strong method compared to the earlier method that we discussed 2 slides ago. That was a little inaccurate and so on. But this one, it of course requires a lot of experimentation. You have to have exact compact specimens with different crack sizes, and for each crack size you repeat the experiment several times so that you are sure that the results are the same. And then right, for A1, A2, A3, A4 you plot the P delta curve, and then a lot of calculation starts to come. You find the areas under the curve to find the internal energy U. Then you plot the internal energy U against the crack size in the second graph. Internal energy U against the crack size in the second graph. Then for all of these, it has already taken a lot of calculation coming from here to here. But for all of these now, you take the slope at each point. And then integrate it to find the value of J, right? So there is a lot of calculation, yes, but it is doable. I mean, if you take 1 point to the 1 point to 1 point, then it is not a big deal. It takes time, but if you automate this you write a MATLAB program or a C program, whatever you do, it is up to you. So up to the people who do it, but then you have a J integral thing, right? So experimental assessment of the J integral for different crack sizes as the load keeps on increasing, right? So this is. Now for an edge cracked specimen of thickness B, the J integral is given like this, right? The J integral is given by this, right? It is just the definition. So therefore, if I said in the last slide that you integrate, then it is wrong of me, right? I mean, if you have already found the du dA, then the J integral is directly this. Because my mistake, I take that back. U was the integral in the equation. Remember, U was the integral, but you have found del U del A already through experimentation. So no more integration required. You just do the experiment. From these values, you convert to the U against A, and as soon as you have the DUDA, you have the J values. So J can be computed by determining the slope of the tangent to the curves. Applying the above equation leads to this figure, right? Applying the above equation leads to this figure, plot of J versus displacement at various crack lengths. This curve only applies to the material, a specimen size, a specimen geometry, and the temperature for which it was obtained. This is a major problem, right? This is a major problem for design engineers, for materials engineers, for manufacturing engineers, that you see we had selected a certain specimen size, a certain specimen geometry, a certain temperature at which we are working. So these J values will be only specific to that only, but that is also true for any experiment. You see, when we do the tensile experiment, that is why the international standards are there. You make a tensile specimen of a specific geometry, and you do it only at room temperature, and you report the values, and right. So for that material it is there. So if we take any material and do this, and the crack geometry and so on are standardized, then that is okay, and we know that we will do it at a room temperature. If we have to find a value at a different temperature, it will be different. But even for a simple tensile test, a stress sustain test, you have the values from handbooks and manuals and so on for room temperature values, right? That is the standard tensile test. If you use the same material at a higher temperature, you have to do something else. So this is true for any other standard test. This is true for this also. Landes and Begley approach has obvious disadvantages, since multiple specimens must be tested and analyzed to determine J in a particular set of circumstances. But right, if this is the only very correct method where we really find correct J integral values, and we know that J integral is a very good formulation for elastic plastic fracture mechanics, then this is it, that you spend some time, spend some money, but once you get those values, then for one material, if in my company I am using one particular steel for all my manufacturing and design and so on, then yes, we take this cost and time and we get the thing, and then now we can do elastic plastic fracture mechanics for this material. This is huge, this is big. Rice and their group, A all means and others, showed that it was possible in some cases to determine J directly from the load displacement curve of a single specimen. Here Landes and Begley, remember, you do many specimens and then you do the load displacement curve. But Rice et al. Showed that some cases they can do it, and they use what in physics you know as dimensional analysis, right? They are showing in the next figure the double edge notched tension panel, double edge notched, right? Not single edge, the double edge. And they will show that crack lengths of A on the opposite sides of the panel are there. They are separated by a ligament of length 2B. For this configuration, dA, the change in area, is 2dA into 2dB, of course assuming unit thickness and so on, unit thickness. And this definition is there. We know that the definition for J under load control is already this. So this equation can be modified. We are not showing you how you go from here to here. It is a full research paper, but it can be modified to J is equal to minus half integral del B of delta elastic and del P of delta plastic dP. So this is it, that they are dividing it into the elastic and plastic region, as we saw in the hinge experiment. Because the elastic is already defined, J for elastic is like G. Remember, J for elastic is like G. So this whole thing becomes K1 squared by E dash. And you are remaining with only half integral of this. And again, integral differential can go inside, outside. So this is the standard G for the linear portion, and this is delta P del B under load control, and then you do so you do this, and then so to compute J from the above expression, it is necessary to determine relationship between load displacement and panel dimensions, of course.